Hello, Bl'Artagnan here with Dare to Defy 2, the Jessie debut event featuring the Panthers. I'm pretty sure that's a typo, but it's kind of appropriate as you're gonna see. We're bringing a team of Faris, Auron, and Ace. Before we get too deep into it, be sure to hit the like button on that video, hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think about Jessie, about the fight, about how Dare to Defy's been treating you so far, 2 fights in. Have you had that elixir syndrome yet, where you don't want to use your good units? I definitely was worried I was going to have that here. I was a little bit like, should I use Auron? This feels a little early to be using Auron, a little early to be using Ace's BT. It's not actually. We're trying to get that aura up ASAP because he's not going to be doing any damage until the FR's here anyway. But yeah, I figured, but we have so many good tanks at this point that the odds that I'm going to need like 5 other tank units and need Auron at the end of it, it doesn't seem too likely to me. Besides, I can think of like 3 off the top of my head that I'd want to use, if not more, that aren't Auron. But anyway, getting into a bit of a look. So we're starting off here. We started off with Faris and Auron, because this is a little bit of a longer one, just because of the stupid counter animations and everything. We recap some really basic kind of gameplay stuff. With Faris, I always like to start with her skill 1 on her free turn, then use skill 2. The reason for this is because skill 1 is high turn rate, so if you use it after that free turn, it charges the EX slower, but if you use it on the free turn, I'm pretty sure that it doesn't affect the EX as if it was high turn rate. Does that make sense? I actually don't know if that's true or not. That's just kind of the way I assume it works. If it isn't true, I'd actually probably use the skill 1 second, because buff management can be an issue with her because she's so slow and has so many buttons she wants to be pressing to upkeep everything. Auron, the way I like to start him off is I start with his LD so that on the turn immediately following the free turn, I can use his free AA, increase that brave damage limit, and then use his either EX or, skill 2 or whatever I need. In this case, I used his EX you saw. And you might be thinking, Bl'Art, why are you using Auron's EX? He's a counter unit. Why are you delaying them? And the reason is because we're not really dealing good damage to him at this point. We want to get to that FR as quickly as possible, or the force time. And because we have no chargers, and Ace is only 10 out of 30 for his charges, I wanted to take as many player turns as possible to take advantage of those, the FE30 stuff. So I want Auron and Faris to be taking more turns than the bosses if I can help it. And that was the thinking. Push the boss turns back, and hey, that means that's probably a round of boss turns that'll happen during force time instead of here. So that's cool, right? Anyway, so that's the thinking there. And yeah, of course, Ace started with the BT just to, that way we got his LD out of the way immediately, we got his BT auras up, and he's contributing. Because the only reason Ace is really here is just to continue to, rack up that off-turn damage during the force time. The entire point of this team, shocking, force time off-turn damage, like, who'd have thought, novel concept. So what do we got going on in this fight? It's a fight, we got meh panzers. Meh. So, the 3 of them, that's a 3-target fight. That's the reason I brought Auron here, by the way, instead of like any other counter tank, is I was thinking, well, he has the biggest counter in the game in terms of just like AoE, 3 HP attacks, so that's like that's like 9 attacks against 3 targets, which is great, so I wanted that here. Kind of Ace was a similar idea with the number of turns that are going to be happening, but, so the bosses, you see they have some force gauge. They have no HP threshold mechanics at all. That is just the usual 80% stat up. There's no HP mechanics. And the only attacks they do are they alternate a Brave attack, which gives them an attack boost, and a Brave HP attack. I want to say that's the one that applied the speed down to Auron, but I'm not really paying attention. The force gauge mechanics, nothing too fancy. Basically, they get Brave damage resistance, they lower your attack, they get more Brave damage resistance. I think they either increase their speed or lower your speed or turn rate. Basically, they take more turns as it gets higher. The interesting part is once it hits the force time, they cleanse their debuffs, which is kind of annoying, and do a big old attack as per usual, and they have 4 force turns, and apparently, if I read the thing right, and I decided not to test this firsthand, so I'm just kind of using the rules text to inform us, if the force time gets down to 1, then they just kill you, which is actually kind of neat. Like, there's not much going on in this fight, but I've said this before, like, instant kill mechanics are good in this game because they provide threat when otherwise a character like Auron would just make then there's no threat. The only threat in that case is not making turn count, and you're using Auron, so you're going to make turn count because he counters everything. Anyway, what was I saying? Right, so I think instant kill mechanics in this game are good, provided they're like, kind of implemented in a fair way, and I think this is fair. This is just, it's very kind of upfront. It's not like an RNG like Mana Breath Plus bullshit, where, it's just, if you let them play out their force time, they're going to kill you. Just don't let them do that. Either cancel it with like Jessie or something, or kill them. And that latter one isn't too hard, because, they have no forced charging mechanics, so as you can see here, we are already at our forced time. We're finally using Leo. I was just talking over this because there's nothing really to report gameplay-wise now that the most interesting stuff for me was, gameplay-wise, was just describing that opening salvo with the different skill usages, because there's not much else to report. I actually forgot to use Freya Call on Ace. I wanted to do that. I've talked about this before. It has some of the best auras you can get from a call, and that's what I wanted, because this team isn't really doing a whole lot in terms of auras. Not that you need a whole lot of auras in this day and age, but I just wanted, to maximize what I could. And on super countery off-turn teams like this, I don't want to use debuffs if I can help it, because the bosses are going to be taking turns, and they're going to chew through the debuffs. So I'll just use, on Faris, like, this Leo call is going to be up the entire fight, because she's slow as heck. Who knows about Freya? I don't know. Auron is keeping the last of our 3 calls, and we'll reveal what that is later. So we're onto business, I guess, if you can call it that. Jesus Christ, we're like 6 minutes in, and we finally hit our force time, and the bosses are at 77. Okay, we're getting there. This is going to take a while, though, because this is going to be, well, the thing about off-turn FRs, here's something to talk about, is I've done a bit of playing around with, like, off-turn FRs versus, like, just, like, bringing, like, a generic, like, Lila set kind of FR and just using that alongside an off-turn damage unit. And the net effect tends to be about the same, I find, in my experience. I mean, yeah, you could do something goofy with, like, Minmu's setups or something, because his is big or whatever, but the ones where it gives you, like, +5 for a thing, like, let's do a quick comparison here. So, Lewd is, like, 60 a turn, right? So, Faris is 40 on turn, assuming you're hitting max debuffs, right? And then, like, 5 for every bit of water damage you do in the off-turns. So you're going to need, like, what, 3-4 off-turn procs between player turns to kind of equal that 60 or something like that? I don't know if the math checks out. And it's doable. I mean, with this team, it's probably doing it because, everyone is doing a bunch of off-turn damage, so it all adds up, I think. But in terms of the work you have to do and the amount of time you have to sit watching animations play out, it does make me wonder, like, the whole off-turn thing, I know people are, like, super into it because of the value of dealing damage in the off-turn when we're so, like, action-oriented during force time. But, I don't know. Maybe I wonder if it's maybe kind of overdone a little bit. And what it really comes down to is just, counter tanks are broken in terms of just kind of ignoring mechanics. And so if you build around that, it goes great for you. This was maybe a mistake. I decided I wanted that sweet additional, the burst finisher with the additional proc, the off-turn damage, all that, but now I have to restack Ace's HP cap from his armor, from his burst effect, and I'm not sure if that was the right play. I mean, it doesn't really matter, I think, in this case. We're gonna get the W. Shockers, I know. One of these days I'm gonna punk you guys and just post a video where, like, at the very end I wiped, and it'll be great. If you really want to see stuff like that, just check out the live stream. Mondays at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Tonight, actually, on Twitch. You go to look up Livestream DFFOO and you'll find us. Me and Raw Life and various friends join us from time to time. Samegi, Spellgood, Blind Eye. If you don't know who any of these people are, check us out. Maybe you'll like them. They might be cool. Maybe they're people you'd like to hang out with. Who knows? Shoutouts to the TCC Discord in my YouTube link. I don't know, man. Right, so what do we got going on here? We're like halfway done with the enemy's HP. We're almost halfway done with our force time. The thing is, I wasn't sure which of the force thresholds was their, like, turn rate up, speed down, whatever. The thing that makes them take more turns. So I just was like, we'll just let them max it out. We'll get them to over 70, and it'll be great. We'll just, at that point, or 60 or whatever the percentage is, I kind of, looking over this fight, once I saw the description of the fight, I was like, okay, so really all you're saying is bring a counter tank and bring an FR and use your FR before they use theirs, right? That's all you have to do? Okay, done. Again, I didn't have to use a counter tank. I just figured with 3 targets, that is the juiciest thing you could ask for as far as, like, an off-turn damage counter team, right? It just counters and counters and counters and counters and traps and traps and traps and traps and traps. Oh man, it's great. Great, you love to see it. So here we go. So, as mentioned with Faris, like, she just she's not very fast, so refreshing stuff is an issue. Her EX in particular can be a problem to keep up if you're not super on top of it. And her skill 1 also it's probably the weakest button in her kit, but you want to keep that buff up, so, because that's where all her, like, offensive stats come from, so, I don't know. Maybe I'll start running Faris with Luna Freya call so I can upkeep all this shit, I don't know. It's stupid. Anyway, here's a Cyan busting out the last of our 3 calls. Surprise, surprise, it's Cyan call! Whoa, boom, boom, here we go! And, okay, it didn't go. Wonderful. Well, Auron, you get to do the deed with your EX. Very stylish, very cool. Panzer's out of the way. Well, that's the Jessie event in Defy 2. I hope I didn't, like, I feel like I didn't waste a slot using Orin and Ferris here. I don't know, whatever. Don't think about that stuff until you're at the end, as I've talked about in other videos. It's not worth it. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Adios.